Hello, boys and girls. It's that time again. It's time for the Successful Home Inspector Show, where we're here to share some funny home inspection stories, maybe some funny things that you found, how to increase your business. We're going to hear some success stories, maybe some stories that weren't so successful. Maybe we can learn from them. And we're going to share some resources here with you that help increase your business, and we're hoping to help raise the level of the industry as well. So sit back, and here's your host for the Successful Home Inspector Show, Preston Sandlin. Thanks a lot. Are you struggling to make your home inspection business grow? Well, have I got the answer for you. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. At HomeInspectionFlyers.com, you get 5 flyers a month. There are 3 sales flyers and 2 recipe flyers. And you can customize them to exactly what you want. And these make great flyers when you go to the offices to put in their boxes, especially if you're doing like candy bowls or something along that nature. Like I said, it's 5 flyers a month for $29.99, and they're very creative, and you just put in your information. They come as a publisher file, and you just put in your information, and then you send them off to get printed. You can send them off online, and you can get color copies for less than 10 cents a copy. It's a great way to go. I went from being a 1-man home inspection firm to a 7-man home inspection firm on this one strategy alone. So try it today. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. Thanks.
All right. Well, hello out there. I still haven't got a good intro for Home Inspection Land or something, but I am here today with Brian Wetzel. I've known Brian a pretty good while. He's actually one of my competitors, but he's a good guy, smart, tough competitor, and actually a pretty good friend. And it's nice to talk to him. And and he owns the Housemaster franchise. I think, and I'll let him expand more about that, but I think if I understand, he owns the South York County or something right below, but it's in our territory because here in Charlotte, we're right on the line. But, Brian, I'm glad to have you on the interview today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because we'd like to get to know you personally.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Preston. Kind words. But yeah, I'm the owner of a franchise, Housemaster Home Inspections, and my territory within our franchise is York County, South Carolina, which just is about right over the border from Charlotte. And it's a pretty good, a pretty good market. Things are starting to move from the real estate crash, so it's doing very well for me.
Well, cool. I know Brian kicks my butt in those offices down there. I get his leftovers, but Brian's pretty stout. Well, Brian, tell us, how did you get into home inspection? I mean, not too many of us grew up wanting to be a home inspector, maybe not even knowing what a home inspector was. But where'd you grow up? How'd you get into it? And how did it evolve for you?
Yeah, I pretty much was born and raised in Michigan. I was an electrician in Michigan. I worked for a builder we built the houses, and then we kind of wired them. I kind of went off into the electrical side of things. Was a licensed electrician in Michigan, and then I decided to move south just because it's the South. It's warm. I kind of got not today. Yeah, except it's below 0 in Michigan right now, and we're still above 0, so it's a little bit different.
Right.
But truly, putting underground in the middle of a field in a foot of snow, I got tired of that. So I just kind of decided to pick up and come south. And well, when I got here, I just decided what I was making as an electrician in Michigan and what they were willing to pay me down here as an electrician doing the same work was about 50% less.
Wow. So
at that point, I just decided, it just doesn't seem logical to continue to do the same job working for somebody and making half the amount of money. Basically the first thing I did was my neighbor, actually, Butch, is a good friend and also a competitor of yours.
Yeah, no kidding. I know Butch well.
At that time, Butch was fairly small. He just owned a single county. you have one of two counties, Gaston County and I think Lincoln County. So I started working for him part-time as an inspector, and a lot of people don't realize that I actually joined the sheriff's office in Mecklenburg County. So I kind of worked. Yeah, I was doing that schedule, law enforcement for 15 days a month. So the other 15 days I could just kind of work with Butch as an inspector. And then some things happened in the sheriff's office that, our schedules basically were set. I was on permanent days, so I had a partner that would do my permanent nights. So we would stay on, I would stay on days, he would stay on nights. So basically it was a rotation shift where everybody else went from days to nights to days to nights.
Right.
And so I stayed on days and then he stayed on nights. Well, a new major came in and decided, there's no more permanent shifts. So that was I was already doing inspections on my days off, and, I wasn't going to go back to the night shift. So that's when I made the leap and the jump and just say, okay, I'm truly, it was a numbers thing. I was truly making more part-time, and I say it part-time, but I was still working 15 days a month doing inspections.
Right.
I'm doing 2 a day. That's pretty significant income for an inspector. And then I was truly making more money as an inspector doing it 15 days than I was even working at the sheriff's office.
Right.
So I decided to get out of that, and then 2009, York County, just south of us, opened up. I had the opportunity to buy that part of the franchise. So I bought that, and, in the down market, I decided to go and buy an inspection business. So,
you've done well, my friend. You've done well.
yeah, it's definitely blessed my family, and it's definitely was a good move to get out of law enforcement and continue on with this.
Well, cool. Tell me about some of the changes you've seen, Brian. Have you seen? It seems like it changes pretty rapidly since you started doing them part time till now.
Yeah, and I got a story. I guess the Charlotte office, the Charlotte Housemaster office, and this predates you possibly, because he was probably 15, 20 years ago, I think, when he was actually the first one in the area that started pictures, and he would have a Kodak camera.
Oh yeah.
He would do the pictures, and the reports would be handwritten out, and then he would actually take those and get them developed, and he would do duplicates, and he'd write on the back of the picture. 4 days later, he'd get them back and write on the back of it, and give one to the client and give one to keep one for his files.
Now was this Butch you're talking about?
This was the guy that Butch bought from Richard on that. Yeah.
not to be confused with the exercise guy.
With the exercise guy, no.
I remember him.
I'm sure he still gets rides for that too. But, and in seriousness, that alone tells you what's changed in this industry, because it took him 4 days or so to get those pictures back to the client.
Oh, wow.
In 20 years ago, that was okay. Time of the essence was a week. We didn't have cell phones at that particular time. Everything was done. You print something off, or you fax it, or you did all that stuff. So I have a lot of stories from what I've heard before I even got into the business to where we're at now. When I started in 2003 as an inspector, we were actually printing reports on site. So I'd lug a computer printer around that hooked up to my laptop, and I would start printing the report as I was going into the crawl spaces, and as I would come back out, I would finish up the crawl space section, and then finish up pictures on a Word document, and then print the picture separate. And it was a time consuming, but that was our niche. We would those 2003, that's what got us through. We were doing them on site, printing them out.
Wow, that was state of the art, Brian. That was state of the art.
Yeah.
I started out. I had the old carbon ones that we just wrote. We would write the report, and there were 3 copies, and we would divide them out. And I remember the report was like 12 pages, and then the summary was 1 page, so 13 pages total. It was simple. I mean, you just divided out 3 copies, 3 stacks, gave 1 to the realtor, 1 to the buyer, and you kept 1. And then we had a couple of Polaroids, but obviously the quality, and I'm not the best speller, so it wasn't that good.
I can imagine. And it's funny, too. We've got, I think we have 1 or 2 old, and I say old guys, but old school inspectors in our franchise system that I believe are still using those checklists, and they're, not everybody evolves around with the rest of the country. Or you still get those little pockets in the United States that, I don't even know if they have cell phones in those particular areas. But
you must have been in my hometown. You got a pretty mouth, boy.
Yeah. So, things have evolved, definitely. And, time of the essence now is yesterday. So everybody wants everything yesterday. So.
Oh, yeah. We don't, I wish we could do reports on site. I know there's some people out there, some listeners and some companies that do it. And, I wish I could. You guys do them on site?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Man.
I'm
killing me, man. You're killing me.
Yeah. And
you're great.
Truly, I spent 3 hours in the house, on site, 3 hours. I've trained and, and I've set expectations. I'm going to be here 3 hours. There's 2 reasons. One, it's a great marketing tool. You can get it done on site. You don't have to come home and spend 2 hours writing reports.
Right.
The realtors will get them as soon as we walk out the door. And if I have, and truly, if I feel confident enough that there's a clean house, I'll upload the report right there on site with my, with my Wi-Fi.
Right.
But truly, it's just liability. When I leave that house, I don't want to have to think about, was it a 40-gallon water heater or a 50-gallon water heater? Because we're getting, people, the expectations of buyers and everybody, I hate to say this word, but everybody's sue happy.
Litigious.
I've heard horror stories where an inspector reported there was a 40-gallon or a 50-gallon water heater, and it was only a 40-gallon.
Oh yeah.
And now guess who's liable for that? Is that he wants a 50-gallon. Doesn't matter why, but he wants a 50-gallon because he told me it was 50, and I bought the house knowing it was a 50.
I had to replace the air conditioner because my guy said it was 1 year old and it was 11. He didn't hit that stupid thing. Don't even get me started on that. I have flashbacks.
Long story short is when I leave the house, I want all my defects in the report. I want all my styles and materials. I want everything that could possibly be in that. I want it, and it may not be completed 100%, but all the big information is in my report before I walk off the site.
That's smart, man. That's smart. I guess I got to get my game in order, man. You killed me. Well, Brian, now you've hired someone now, correct?
I did. Yeah. He's been with me a couple of years.
Cool. Take us back there. What was it like hiring that guy?
Oh, it was stressful. It was. When you go from just being you.
Right.
To
Total control,
and I was probably a little overly controlling when I hired him. But it's hard to you build relationships, so it's truly your name as a single operator inspector. It's your name, so you build those relationships. These realtors are calling you. They want you. They don't know anyone else. They want you because they know you and your style.
Sure.
How did you? When I hired my first guy, or when I hired this first guy, his template is exactly like mine,
right?
And I've made it clear to him his report, and I've tested it as I was training him. I didn't tell the realtor who was doing it. He wrote the report and sent it, and the realtor actually, didn't know anything about it. And I asked the realtor, I said, did you know anything about the report? Do you see anything different? I said, no, everything looks the same. I said, good, because Kevin is the one who wrote that report. And they were like, really? And I said, that is my goal, is every inspector that I hire is going to be, everything in the report is written the same exact way. So if I've got damage or here or there, so the realtors get accustomed to what it is, where it's at, why it's a problem, or what can happen if you don't fix it, and then what you need to do with it.
Right.
It doesn't matter if I write it or he writes it; it's going to say the same stuff.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. That's why places like Starbucks are so successful. It doesn't matter if you walk in one in Charlotte or Seattle. Speaking of Seattle, I mean, they're going to be the exact same and have the exact same thing on the menu.
And that's where it comes from. Is if you order a Big Mac, you know what a Big Mac tastes like. It doesn't matter where you're at in the country. You know what a Big Mac tastes like, and that's truly the mindset behind that.
Absolutely. I want to follow up a little, just one question on that, because I think a lot of people struggle with this. I know I did. Like you said, they love you. They want Brian. They want Brian all the time. And how did you wean them, or some of them, off to Kevin? What was, did you know what I mean? Did you have a strategy for that, or? Unfortunately,
I just didn't give him a choice. It truly, that's really what it is. I got so pulled in multiple directions. My business in 2009, I bought it in 2009. From the latter part of 2009 is when I bought it, September. So from 2010 to 2011, I grew it 117%.
Wow.
So I was being pulled in multiple directions. And so when I hired Kevin, I just told him, I said, here's the thing. You're either going to have to trust me and trust who I've trained, or you're going to have to use somebody else. So it doesn't even make sense. You're using somebody else anyway. You might as well trust me and what I'm doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I kind of, and I had some situations like that. And when you get so busy, you're exactly right. You just don't have any choice. If I had the time, what I would do is kind of take that person with me, take them with me. And especially like, that realtor that just has to have Brian, or has to have Preston. And I would take them with me. And then all of a sudden, one time they call, but they've sort of gotten used to them. And, Preston can't do it on this date, but Chip can. And Chip's been with me the last 8 times. Yeah, well, I'm used to Chip. And then, it was actually, it was tough because you felt like you had to do everything. And and like you said, that, Chip or Kevin is not like Brian or Preston. But, if they're 90%, that's pretty good.
Well, you truly must have been watching me when I was training my guy, because that's truly what I did. Is he was with me every day.
Right. Well,
for,
if they're
for
used
a long
to seeing him,
time.
Yeah, it's not like they've never seen this person. And like you said, if they're going to call another person anyway, this is a person they've never seen. At least they've seen Kevin several times, and you've trained him. He walks, talks like you, the whole 9 yards. No, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and that's what it was too. Is and I started letting him do the reports. We both were together. The realtor saw us both, but Kevin was the one doing the reports. And then I just let the realtor know. I just want to let you know Kevin's the one who wrote this report. So if you got any questions, let me know, and I'll make sure we address it. So they kind of got familiar with, okay, Kevin's the one writing the report. So then, as that comes in, then now they got a choice between Kevin or I.
Now, Brian, I don't know if it'll happen to you one day. And I was glad to get them to ask for Chip or John or whoever. But then one day it dawned on me they don't want Preston anymore. I mean that's good, but that hurt my feelings a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely gotten. I blasted all over social media. I'm looking for another inspector. And somebody actually called Kevin and said, "Are you still working for Brian? He's looking for another inspector." He says, no, he's looking for a second inspector, not another one.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, he's definitely built relationships.
No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, this next question, it kind of goes along with that. You probably kind of already answered it. Do you have a training process, or how did you train Kevin? And I know kind of in the beginning it is very much, but as you add on more inspectors, do you have sort of an idea or kind of how the framework that you might bring? And I know there's different experience levels.
Yeah, no, I definitely, a lot of it came from the training office or, in law enforcement. They basically have a protocol on how you train as a law enforcement officer. So
Right.
I kind of manipulated that a little bit and just said, you basically first you come, you watch, you do whatever, you watch everything that I do. And then, I tell them to do it, and I watch them. And so I let them actually do the inspection. Of course, I'm doing the inspection while he's doing it on another computer. So we're both doing the same inspection, and then I'll compare the inspection after. And I'll still turn in mine to the client, but, I'll at least be able to see what he's done. So yeah, it worked well. Kevin worked for me a long time before I felt comfortable letting him go. Which the next guy, I definitely will keep my, I will keep my strong arm in it. Basically, they definitely need to be trained before you just let them out there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I'll tell you something else, Brian, that'll help. You can, I'll talk more about this later, but if you want, but you can get Kevin to help you train the new guy, but you just got to make sure he's not threatened by the new guy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But if you're wearing him out in the summer, like I know you will be because you'll be super busy,
right.
he'll be glad to get the help. I mean, I used to deal with that. Like every time I'd hire somebody new, the other ones would groan like, "Oh, great, less work for us." But no, not April, May, and June. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And truly, this is December, January. It's supposed to be our slow month, and I'm not hardly sleeping. We're wide open, and I wish I could find another inspector so I can get him ready for spring, or we're going to be buried again.
Oh, I know, and I'm sure. Did you lose inspections in the spring? I did because I just couldn't. The due diligence, and you're booked 10 days out, and you just couldn't do it. Did you lose some?
Well, I'm losing inspections now. That's I don't know if you've seen my Facebook, but I've been looking for an inspector since 3-4 months ago.
Right.
When you're losing inspections in December, when it's supposed to be slow because you're both booked out a week, and like you said, a lot of people can't wait a week.
Yeah.
So it's time. It's past time to have another inspector.
Absolutely. I interviewed Gordon Fox a couple of interviews ago, and he, I think he was pretty smart. He's been doing it a long time. He said optimal is 3 days out. If you're more than 3 days out, you need to hire. And especially in December. I mean, Well, Brian, do you have a success quote you could share with us?
A success quote or a success story, or what's your?
Well, a success quote, because I kind of have a success story.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I do have that. So, I'm a huge Michigan fan.
Right.
Go Blue.
right. No, you guys got your coach.
Yeah, we got our coach, but a lot of people within the university and fans alike, Bo Schembecker was our longtime coach. And he said, "Those who stay will be champions," and they live and die by that saying in the locker room and just about everything that you do. So those who stay will be champions. And how does that really affect me? It plays right into real estate. No matter what they throw at you, no matter how much rejection you get, every day just stay the course, keep doing the right thing. No negative push, no matter how much negative pushback you get, those who stay will be champions.
Oh, it's excellent, man. And I, I'm right there with you when you were saying that. It's like you get rejection, and I know you've probably done this too. Like, you sort of tried to get this realtor's business for years and years, and I don't know if they didn't like my face or reminded them of somebody they didn't like in high school or what, but
yeah, they were using me and didn't want to change.
Probably.
I'm just kidding with you.
That was probably it. But so anyway, well, let's say that I'm a buyer. Oh man, probably should have took this question off since I'm interviewing you. Let's say that Let's say that I'm a buyer in a real estate. Let's see. I'm a buyer or a real estate agent in your market. There are other home inspectors, home inspection Carolina, in your market. Why should I hire you? Is there something you do that others don't? I can answer that question for you, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's just definitely, we try to set ourselves apart. I mean, just like you do, every successful business will try to find a niche in the market. There's no one set thing. I don't think. I think that in my mind, it's VEC, and I kind of came up with that a little bit, but it's value, experience, and calm. So you're trying to create value for your client's dollar. So whatever you can do to try to make them feel that they're getting the value for the dollar, because truly. The realtors are the ones who balk at pricing on our inspections. The buyers will pay. It's just like a car. It's like a car. A buyer will pay top dollar for a car if they feel they're getting the value in that. So that's truly what you got to do is set the value of your inspection. What is that? And it comes with experience. You got to have that. You've got to have that technical experience. It's not cheap to be a home inspector, and a lot of people don't really understand that. Experience comes with training. We've got to pay for training. We've got to go to continuing ed. We've got licensing fees. We've got, everything that goes into the price of an inspection that people don't really think about.
Right.
And then the calm part is just, communicating your findings. At the end of the day, anything can be fixed, and you got so many inspectors that are out there just trying to think and say, hey, I found this, and this, and okay, yeah, you found it, but now what has to happen? Well, it can be fixed. The worst structural issue can be fixed. So as long as you're communicating that in a calm manner. You're going to be successful in this business.
Right. Oh, excellent. I believe you. I kind of have the same sort of thing. I said, and of course we can't ever answer this question. You probably get this question. Would you buy this house? My answer is always, I'll buy any house if the price is right. I said, it just becomes an economic, thing, and I don't know the market value around here. I think I would, and there's no perfect house. I mean, there's none. My house is not perfect. But, if there's anything major or anything like that, just, you got to get estimates, figure out what it takes to get it to where it needs to be. And if you're at or under the market value, go for it. I mean, and everything else is right, the schools, but, so same thing. Yeah, you're right. Calm.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. This is probably a good time, Brian, because we were talking about the realtors and stuff. And there's probably a lot of listeners out there that are in other markets. We're in the Charlotte area, Charlotte, Fort Mill, Rock Hill, area. Unfortunately, in our market, there is a culture that it was here before I came, I don't know that you could, pay for the inspection out of closing. And that was fine, Brian, back when times were good, 2005, 6, and even before, because we got paid 90% of the time. or 95% of the time. But the problem is, when the market tanked and you had all these foreclosures and short sales and it took forever, that percentage dropped. And then, of course, I'm probably talking, you could probably say the same thing. But, then it was like we weren't, getting paid for 6 months if we got paid. And, if you got people working for you, you can't tell them that. You got to pay them. And so we were just getting stretched out. And, I added that $50 if you want to, go to closing, and I'm not trying to. I don't want the $50. I'd rather be paid up front. I know sometimes that could appear like you're trying to gouge or whatever, and but I wish we could change the culture. Do you have any thoughts on that? I know you've made some Facebook posts and had some interesting response. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, truly, it hurts a business. It hurts a small business carrying those accounts receivable like that. First, that which I can't imagine what your accounts receivable is, but mine has hit about 25 or 30,000 in a single month at one time. So if you can imagine, if something takes 6 months to close or 4 months to close, and we're still holding off for 4 months, and all that stuff adds up.
And you got to pay Kevin. You got to pay your franchise fee and all that.
Absolutely, I got to pay. I pay the insurance. I pay everything on that, and then and it would be one thing if we got paid for each and every one, but
right.
The problem is that we fall through the cracks. So it could either be that the realtor doesn't get the invoice to the attorney, or the attorney gets the invoice and forgets to put us on the HUD, or
right.
The attorney doesn't. I've had several where the check sat on the attorney's desk.
Oh, I've had that. Yeah.
For 6-8 months.
Right. I've had that.
We're trying to figure out where our money is, and nobody knows. We're on the HUD. Did it get lost in the mail? And so now the attorney has to cut the check and reissue the check. And I've had them because I am a franchise, and there's a franchise in Lake Norman, the housemaster office, and then there's a franchise in Charlotte, and then the old owner still has an invoice or a mailing address for the old housemaster in Charlotte. I've had to chase checks down in 3 different offices because they just pull up housemaster and send it to wherever they want, even though my mailing address is on the invoice that they're using to cut the check. It doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah, I tell you, Brian, I've and you're right. My accounts receivable is pretty high. I'll have to ask the boss, my wife. But we could talk stories about this all night. But I had one that I had a couple that stick in my mind. But one, the agent, I won't say the name, but you probably don't, I don't know if you know him or not. But at the end of the day, they forgot to turn it into closing, and the buyer or client thought everything was paid for.
Sure.
And we did our, I have to ask my wife, 60 days or something like that. She starts, who hasn't paid us starts,
right.
And we have their credit card number and stuff, but we call to say, hey, we haven't received payment on this. We need to be paid basically. Do you want to make arrangements or you want to hit your card or whatever, And of course, buyer goes ballistic because they thought it was paid out of closing.
Right.
And then they call the agent and, just let the agent have it, blah, blah, blah. And then now the agent's mad at me.
Yeah.
And this agent wants me to just let it go. And now that agent doesn't even use me anymore either. And I'm just like, really? Why am I the bad guy here?
Yeah. And the biggest ones I think are the ones that fall through, whether, and it doesn't even have to be inspection related. The loan process now is so hard to get through. We're sending these to closing and the lender is not even approving the loan. So the deal dies, and nobody tells us. So we're waiting 60 days to collect. And then, hey, it didn't close. So by that time, either the card is no good or the buyer doesn't feel like he has to pay for it because they didn't buy the house.
Exactly.
We feel like a medical bill. We feel like an outstanding medical bill.
Right.
Well, what are you going to do? You can't do anything. Is what the mindset of the buyer is.
I'm sure there's listeners out there going, I can't believe you guys, let them pay out of closing, and I just wish it wasn't the culture here, but it is.
Yeah, and it's a shame too. There's definitely. It's just really educating. Once when I started charging the fee, once I explained to agents why and what the headache is and why I'm just trying to pay somebody right now to collect my money,
Right.
That's truly what the fee is for. And, most of them understand.
Yeah, the same here when I try to explain it. But, I tell them, honestly, I don't want the fee. I just want you to pay up front. I mean, everybody else you have to pay up front. The loan.
Yeah, the appraiser gets his money.
Right.
The appraiser gets his money up front. I don't know why anyone else doesn't, and that's a service provider here. But that's another story.
Absolutely. Well, changing gears a little bit, Brian, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Define
probably
spare
don't
time.
Have much spare time. You probably don't have much spare time. You work a lot.
Define spare time. I'm not really sure what that is.
And I know you got a really nice family there and kids. So I know that probably takes a lot of time to do.
Thank you. And I'm a big football fan. My wife's a big football fan. So definitely we're at the Panther games. Go Panthers, by the way.
I know. We are hoping they can pull the upset. We're 11.5-point underdogs, by the way.
They definitely got things to prove. But yeah, and then family vacations. We like to go places and see things, and so just being together is really what's important. It's all you work, right?
Exactly. You're exactly right. Well, besides being a law enforcement officer previously, because I didn't know that before tonight, tell us something most people don't know about you, Brian.
I was the shy boy. I was shy. I guess when I say shy, I was. Can you be outgoing and shy at the same time? I was the class clown in school,
right.
But definitely very shy. And this business definitely has changed my life. Being in law enforcement changed my life because you really can't be shy in law enforcement.
Right.
And then just definitely dealing with the public. I never realized I was such a people person. Until I started doing inspections. So, yeah.
No, I mean, I hear good stuff about you all the time. I'm always like, darn it. No, I'm kidding. That's why he's kicking my butt, because people like it so much. No, that's fine. Now, Brian, you know as well as I do, you do enough inspections, you're going to have some unhappy campers. And you and I have had some private conversations about those. Do you have how do you handle an unhappy camper? Do you have a process, and what does that look like?
Oh, I've never had an unhappy camper. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. We do perfect inspections. But no, you try to take the emotion.
Only Home Inspection Carolina had an unhappy camper. Go ahead.
No, you first of all, you try to set the expectations up front, because that's truly where most of your claims come from, is the buyer thought they were getting something else that our standards tell us not to do.
You mean you're not like that guy on TV?
Yeah.
TV. I won't say his name because we might get sued, but who can see through walls? And
if I knock down a wall, I can see the termites too. So
right.
But no, truly, you set the expectations. That's the first thing. And then if a claim comes in, you definitely got to try to take the emotions out of it.
Right.
Their emotions are very high because they just discovered an issue. And, and it can definitely get out of hand if you just shy away from it. So I always return to the property. I always look at it. I always look at what it is, and at the end of the day, if it was something that I should have caught and I missed it, you got to do the right thing. That's just the way I live my life. So, if you missed it, you missed it, and thankfully I don't miss much things. But when they do come up, you got to be the one to step up and take care of it.
Absolutely. That's good stuff, Brian. And on that emotional thing, I remember way back, that intro to psychology or something. I don't know why I remember this, but there are like 5 things that stress people out. Life events that are the most 5 stressful things.
Sure.
And there's some really bad ones like death of a child, which are hard.
Marriage, divorce,
new job, new town. And but the thing I realized is usually when somebody's buying a house, they're going through 1 or 2 or 3 of those: new town, divorce, a new marriage, new child. So,
Yeah.
they're already stressed. So it doesn't take much. And then, the leaky roof, as soon as they move in, can just push them over the edge.
Right. And the biggest thing that I can, share with any inspector that may be listening is, don't get defensive. As soon as you get defensive about it, they get defensive,
right,
and the claim will spiral out of control.
Exactly.
You gotta put yourself in their shoes and say, hey, they just moved into this house and they see a roof leak.
Right.
You got paid to do an inspection, and there's big stain water dumping on it. So you got to definitely take the emotions out of it.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, that's good stuff. Well, this is a good spot to pause for our sponsors. So we're just going to pause for a minute or two here for our sponsors, Brian. On the,
Hey, home inspectors out there, I'm going to tell you a creative, inexpensive way to increase your business massively. Go to homeinspectionflyers.com and get the flyers. You get 5 flyers a month. You customize them to yourself. They're turnkey, they're creative, and it's $29 a month for 5 flyers. That's less than $6 a flyer. And they are done by yours truly, Preston Sandlin. And I am a creative guy, especially when I don't take my medication. But I come up with some crazy stuff. It works for my business. I went from 1 inspector to 7 inspectors with this strategy alone. So again, for $29.95, you get 5 flyers. I do 1 per week. I send them off to get copied on the internet. I can get them for about 7 cents a piece, and I put them out in the boxes when I do my candy run. Works fantastic. homeinspectionflyers.com. Thanks.
When I get the file.
Gotcha.
But anyway, all right. Well, we're back here with Brian. Brian, tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there, and what did you learn from it?
So failure, it's when I first got into this business, we've got basically an inspection process. I like to say it's bulletproof. I've got a template that I go through, and you can't close the report out unless you put a comment on every single thing that's in this house.
Oh, that's good. I need to do that.
Yeah. Well,
tell me some more stuff.
I can't tell you all my secrets.
But,
but truly, unless you just totally missed something, you didn't, whatever, you definitely would have to force the computer to miss something. And this is where I failed, is that I had a guy, and I'll never forget him. I got his face burned into my memory.
Right.
But he basically said, don't worry about it. The furnace is like 40-some years old. I know that. When I move in, that's the first thing. It just costs too much to run, he told me. He says, the first thing I'm going to do when I move in here is I'm going to replace the furnace.
Right.
So I said, okay, and that's in the back of my mind. I get to the furnace, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, yeah, that thing is 40 years old. He is right. So,
just like he said.
It's running. There's no carbon monoxide. We go through and do all my checks, but truly I just didn't, it was a lot faster of an inspection on that furnace than really what I would have done had he not say that.
Right.
And so I missed the exhaust flue coming off of an old furnace. Mm-hmm. It was on the inside of a slab house, a 2-story house, and it ran between the floor joists. And this furnace was, it had an 8-inch flue, I think, that came off the furnace, and the floor joists were 2x8s.
Oh.
So that thing ran. And it ran across the kitchen behind finished material, between the floor joists and out the side of the house.
Right.
So, I didn't say nothing. He was replacing it. So, moved on, and then it wasn't when they closed on the house. He calls me back and said, just want to let you know that my furnace is going to cost, I don't know, it was $7,600 or something like that. To replace, because you didn't, and I want you to pay for that. You didn't tell me this issue.
Now, what was that you said about not being defensive?
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard.
Now, I've learned. I've grown. I've learned. So,
I hear you.
this story here will tell this. This will mature you very fast. But I was very defensive. I told him. I said, I said, are you serious? Are you really calling me with this? Because you are the one who told me that you were replacing the furnace. And he says, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, my God.
He says, all a court, this is what he tells me, all a court will go by is what you wrote in your report and what I write in my complaint.
Oh.
And I looked at him and I said, you know what, I guess I'll see you in court. He says, you've got an insurance company, you need to use it.
Oh,
you need to contact your insurance company and you need to pay for my new furnace.
Brian, did you still have friends in law enforcement at this point?
Well,
I think he might have some drugs at his house.
I told him, at this point, I said, it's principle. I told him, this is what I told him right up front. I said, at this point, it's principle. I will spend $8,000 in attorney fees before I give you a dime. I said, because I don't live my life like that. I don't tell people one thing and do something completely different. I said, you won't get a dime from me. And he didn't. He spent $4,500 in attorney fees, trying back and forth with my attorney. And so did I. I spent $4,500 in attorney's fees. So it was definitely less than the claim. I will tell you, it was more than what my deductible would have been on my insurance. But at the end of the day, I did the right thing, and it cost me money, but I did the right thing. So
you burned and learned. That's what we call it.
That's
no,
it.
I mean,
and truly the failure, and just to cap on it, the failure of that was truly deviating from the inspection process and not documenting what was said from the client. So the client told me, don't worry about the furnace. I should have wrote not inspected. Client told me, don't worry about the furnace. And had I would have done that, he wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. The worst case scenario, he would have called me after the fact and said, I didn't tell you that. And I would have went back and inspected it. But, that could have been fought too. So,
yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, I tell my guys all the time, you'll get burned on something. And I've got a lot of similar stories, especially people, like buying it to flip it or investor, and they'll tell you, hey, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to well, put it on the
Absolutely.
report. Put it on the report. I don't care what they say. Put it on the report.
Yeah, stick with your standards and go move forward.
Yeah, act like you didn't even hear him say that. Let's see. On the other hand of the spectrum, tell us about a kind of an I made it moment or a moment when you felt like you've come a long way, Brian.
I told you, I guess, that when I bought my franchise in a down market and grew it that first full year in business. It was 117%.
Wow.
I was
Good.
very, very proud of that. In 2014, I made the President's Club, which is very high award for sales in the Housemaster franchise.
Right.
So once you surpass a certain amount in gross sales, it's a pretty good club. And then I was voted FAC, which is our Franchise Advisory Council. So by my peers in Housemaster, they voted me in, and you hold basically a 2-year term with that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely rewarded that way.
Good deal. Nah, man. I agree with them. You're. I wish you weren't such a good competitor, but you are. Do you, Brian? Do you have a favorite book you would recommend for our listeners? And what is it about the book that appeals to you?
Oh, wow. I'm truly, I don't have time to read books anymore. The last book that I bought was I think it's called 3 and Out. It was on the Rich Rodriguez years at Michigan.
Right.
I bought it because I was actually in that book. I was at a football game.
Oh, wow.
With a sign that said, even Bo says it takes 3 more years. It takes 3 years.
Right.
As we were getting annihilated with But I bought that. I didn't even read that book. I just kind of looked for me in it, and it said, and there was even a fan that had a sign that said even boat, and I just knew it was me. It didn't have my name or anything, but I remember Of Mice and Men when I was a kid reading that. That's probably my favorite book.
Oh yes, Steinbeck.
Yeah,
How about
Of
John
Mice and
Steinbeck?
Yeah, Lenny was a cool dude.
Yeah. Is that the one? So I can hug him and pet him, and is that the two guys and the one guy was?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Still messed up.
Yeah.
And the Grapes of Wrath and a couple. Yeah. I remember that. Good stuff. Well, Brian, tell us about some of your ancillary services. What do you offer to add to offer more value to the client?
Yeah, we basically do everything. I mean, I try to do whatever our clients need.
Right.
If I don't, I hate to share any of this because you are a competitor, but if I don't do it, I'll find somebody to do it for my clients. I'll coordinate it for them.
Yeah.
It's just you got to be that one-stop shop anymore. It just makes it easy for everybody involved. They don't have to call multiple people.
Yeah, no, good stuff. You guys have a book too, or a CD or something that y'all offer, right? That like repair or a house manual or something like that.
Yeah,
we used a library or something.
Yeah, we went. You were talking earlier about the changing of the times, so we went from a VHS tape back in the 70s, 80s, I think.
You didn't have beta.
we went to a CD-ROM. And then now we were at a DVD that you could put in and do it on the TV. Now we've actually taken that stuff. We're in the process of totally revamping our website on a national level. So all those repairs and things that we offer, instructions on repairs are going to be on our website.
Cool. Just out of curiosity, where is the headquarters of Housemasters, bro?
It's going to be in New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay.
Yeah, it used to be Bound Brook, New Jersey, and now they moved it just south of Bound Brook.
Okay, cool. So, we touched about this a little bit, but do you have any idea, or if you could predict the future, you have any idea of how you think the home inspection business might change in the future?
Well, I hope the fees go up.
I like the honesty, man. I love the honesty.
No, it's just the liability is so. We joke about that all the time. Is our fees are nowhere near the liability that we take as inspectors. But
agreed.
There's no reason an appraiser should get the same amount of money as a home inspector when the appraiser has no liability in the game. They just give value out of the house, and
the appraiser doesn't have to pay $4,500 to defend themselves against a furnace claim.
Right. And that's true. Obviously, realtors, attorneys, in some part of the country, the title companies, they all have liability. Their liability is huge when it comes to a dollar figure, but truly the number of claims against all three of those people in a real estate transaction is so much lower than the amount of claims that we deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Which is why we pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for errors and omissions insurance.
And it keeps going up.
Yeah, and the E&O companies know how much liability we take.
Yeah, I always say it's crazy that we make the least amount of money but take on the most liability in the transaction.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm hoping, and I was being funny that the fees go up, but I'm really hoping that changes. The consumers start realizing, you can't get an inspection for $250 anymore.
Yeah, well, $250 and expect them to, fix anything that goes wrong in your house in the next 10 years. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. And truly every I call them competitors because they're not my competition. They're competitors. The difference being is that they're the $250 guys that go out of business in the next year or two.
Right.
where we're a little bit more established company. So, we're going to be there for, in case we did miss something, because truly, if I miss something, I can't sleep at night. I'm gonna step up to the plate, just like I'm sure you do.
Oh yeah, and I mean we do miss stuff. I mean it happens. I mean
nobody's perfect.
We could talk all day long. I always say it's like, you approach a house, it's like, the needle in a haystack metaphor. There's a whole bunch of needles in that haystack.
Right.
All right. How many of them can you find? Now, hopefully you find all the big ones.
Yeah, truly.
And the thing that kills me is like, let's say I go inspect a house you inspected a year ago, or you inspect one that I inspected a year ago. I always tell people, I say, he's going to find something I didn't, and I'm going to find something he didn't. But now, to me, if you found something major that I missed and it was, there, I should step up to the plate. But
Sure.
your list of minor stuff and my list of minor stuff, it's going to be different. I mean, it's subjective. It's totally subjective.
Sure, it is.
And that what example I just gave you is pre-inspections all the way. Because I love the idea of pre-inspection, but the problem with it is you go pre-inspect this house, for the seller. And then the buyer brings their inspector in. He's not going to come in there and say that house is perfect and, give me $350.
Right.
And they're going to be like, well, Brian, how come you didn't find this,
Yeah, most of the agents that use me for their pre-inspections, they know how thorough we are, and so they're hoping that there's nothing big that's going to come up. And that's truly what they're after on a pre-inspection is they don't care about the little things. The little things they can negotiate very quickly, very, very easily.
Right, right.
They just want to make sure that the shower pan's not leaking, or, it's just going to be a slew of termites, or, something big that they're going to have to get the buyer scared about, where they're going to walk away, so they can take care of it beforehand.
Yeah, and I think setting expectations is, like you said, is
absolutely
a big thing. Well, Brian, one thing that bothers me, and we've had these discussions too, the contractors who come out and your inspector should have seen this. And you get that. My contractor said, the inspector gets caught up in the middle, and they'll falsely say your inspector should have caught this. Sometimes it's true, but a lot of times it's not. It also seems like more and more liability is being put on the inspector. And there's a whole lot of reasons we're evolving. Realtors have a strong lobby, and we don't. I mean, do you have any ideas on, I don't think we can ever prevent it, but, what's your idea? To minimize it, or, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't know that you can, because, truly it happens daily to me. It happens daily. It's crazy that there's contractors that feel that they know. So, we've got to take, both North and South Carolina, we've got to take an exam that makes it clear that we understand what our standards of practices are, what our role is in the inspection process. But yet the contractors that are out there, they take everything apart and say, I can't believe your home inspector didn't see this. And, they didn't take that test. I had to study for the test. I had to see what my role is and my standards, and for them to actually, it kind of blows my mind a little bit. But,
but this guy's focusing on that HVAC, and he's taking it apart. You have to inspect the entire house, 3,000 square feet, the attic, first of all, we're not required to, but even you don't have time to focus, But anyway, sorry.
Well,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Here's my biggest thing. I just had one, and the electrician came out, and the dryer breaker had burnt from the back side. Now, I'm a licensed electrician, so I go a little bit above and beyond our standards of practice on the electrical portions, because I'm licensed to do that.
Right.
However, I'm not gonna pull the breaker out of the panel and look behind it, because that shuts power off to the circuit that they're using. So I think this wasn't a dryer. This was the main. So this was a panel outside that had a 100-amp breaker that fed the panel inside.
Right.
And that 100-amp breaker was burnt from the back side on the bus bar. Mm-hmm. Just probably a bad terminal or something. Well, this was a vacant house, so it would have never have shown up unless it was just completely, done and gone, and only half the house was working, but everything was working.
Right.
So there's no way a home inspector would have solved that.
Right.
It looked fine from the face of the panel. Of course, when there's a problem, they plug a dryer in, and it overheated. It started heating up, and that's when that breaker went. Now the electrician comes out, pulls the breaker out, and it's fried in the back, and says, "I can't believe your home inspector didn't catch that."
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know what? We don't pull the breakers out of the panel, but he doesn't. So that's just an example that we all deal with. But I don't know that we'll ever stop that until, maybe our licensing board takes another stance against and starts working with the contractor boards and starting to put out, that would be my goal, is to put out information, that says this, hey, these guys aren't licensed in your trades. These are generalists, and going from there.
Yeah, and I wish we could talk to all the contractors, but, if I'm the contractor, here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to call you and tell you what I found and say, look, I didn't want to make a big deal about it, but, how can we get it fixed? But, oh, by the way, I'd love to work with you. I mean, when you have problems, and by that, I mean, I don't mean, like, if I was a contractor, I would go to every home inspector in the area. I'd go to you, I'd go to me, I'd go, all of them, and I would.
Truly, Preston, that's the difference between a business owner that understands marketing and the difference of somebody that is just doing work. They're just out there making repairs.
And I would say, look, you know what? I'll help you. You help me. Send me some work, and if you need help, I'll help you out. And if I go out on something, I won't throw you under the bus. But if there is something else there, I'll call you. We'll get it worked out. We'll get it fixed. I mean, we're gonna do right by the client, but there's no reason to blow this thing up and get everybody all excited. And quite frankly, from my point of view, if you make me look bad, I'd be damned if I'm going to send you any more work. I mean, why am I going to do that?
Yeah, and my biggest complaint with this electrician that came out there is, he tried to sell a $1,500 panel change. And, here I am, a licensed electrician, and I go out there, I know how much it costs truly in material, to buy the parts and buy, everybody deserves to make a living, but,
kind of exorbitant.
Yeah. You got $150 in material, and it's going to take you 2 hours to change the panel, and you're charging $1,500. It goes back to emotions, and people are afraid of electric, and I'm going to take as much money from these people as I can and blame it on the home inspector.
Yeah,
that's really where that came from.
Oh no, I've been in that seat many times, and probably will. Well, no, I will be again. Also want to ask your opinion on something, Brian. I'm bothered by what I see. I don't know if you ever go on home inspector forums. I don't anymore, hardly. But, there's these forums that, inspectors help each other, Facebook things and stuff. And, there's some people out there who will help you, and especially new guys starting out. And I agree, some new guys aren't going to know as much as some older guys, but I don't think anybody wants to do a bad inspection. And, and what I think, what bothers me is when I see somebody put something out there and they just want some help or something, and then some guy comes in there and just lets them have it, about how stupid they are, with the lack, in some fashion or another, and how great they are. And I'm just like, it just makes us all look bad. Do you have any opinions on that?
Yeah, it really boils down to professionalism, and there's definitely a lot of unprofessional inspectors, and I'll give you an example. There's a Facebook group that I'm on that is for HVAC technicians.
Right.
And, truly I'm just on there to learn, anything I can do to learn and better my stuff. So I pretty much stay silent on it.
Right.
But, these are the guys coming out, throwing us under the bus too. So, and you won't believe the language that it's the way that they talk. It's just it's ridiculous. They can't write. They can't type a single sentence without the F word in it. And that's the caliber of people that are out working on these heating and cooling systems. I hate to say that, but truly, I'm seeing it with my own eyes. And those are the people that are throwing us under the bus. So I'm just trying to figure out, can I learn from this group, or do I need to just stay off of it? And truly, I stay off.
And you don't want to ask a question. If you ask a question, you can imagine how that's going to go.
Yeah, I stay silent on them because I don't need to debate with people. I'm beyond that.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I'm right there with you. I wish it was. It's a shame that it is that way, but it's a lot like that on home inspector forums too.
Yeah.
Brian, and remember, this is a G-rated show here. At least I told iTunes that. iTunes will I don't know. I got on Stitcher, but I'm still having trouble getting on iTunes. What is the craziest, wildest, or weirdest thing you've ever found on a home inspection?
Oh, I mean, there's definitely some things. I think probably the best example, which you think that you see everything, but as long as we've been doing it, you think you see everything. But I'll give you, for instance, I showed up at 8:30 in the morning, which I was I was half hour early, to be honest.
Right.
Ring the doorbell, nobody comes to the door, but I can kind of hear somebody in there. So we've got access. I don't know if other people around the country have this, but we've got access like realtors do.
Mm-hmm.
Super key.
yeah.
You sign in and you pop the key out and you walk in, and there's a couple, a guy and a girl, and they're sitting on the couch, and he's got a bottle, and at 8:30 in the morning, he's drinking liquor.
Oh my gosh.
Like it's going on style. And I just say, hello. I said, we're Brian from Housemaster doing an inspection today. He said, no. And I said, did your realtor not tell you that we were doing an inspection today? Nope, nobody told us. Try tomorrow. I said, well, that's truly not how this works. I'm
booked already tomorrow. I really need to get it done today.
and then the lady goes, yeah, she told us, but we're not ready for it. You're just gonna have to reschedule tomorrow. Let's try tomorrow. And now she pops out from around the corner and tells me that, and she is, maybe a nightgown is about the only thing that she had on. And the nightgown really wasn't fully covered, I guess. But so yeah, I kind of backed out of the house and called the realtor, sat in my car, and waited to find out what I'm going to do. Are we rescheduling? And now I'm thinking, okay, I'm not doing this inspection while they're there,
right?
Because hard telling what could happen. And they are wasted. By beyond waste. I mean, the realtor says, okay, we'll reschedule or whatever. And so I'm sitting in the car, and the lady comes out in the front yard and stumbles down the steps.
Oh my gosh!
And at that point, her nightgown opens.
Oh boy!
She's coming across the front yard with the front of her nightgown open.
Oh my God.
For the world to see everything. So, she says, wow. Come on in. She says, come on in. You can do it. We don't need to reschedule.
I guess they called her.
She goes, we're going to leave. We're going to leave. And I said, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to
call
leave.
A cab.
I said, because I'm not going to be the one to tell you to leave and you get in the car and drive away. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy that day.
Brian, I had one, and I know we're going long here, but I had one time, real quick story. I went to go do the inspection, and, I pull up several years ago. It was scheduled for a certain day, and I pull up, and you know how usually there's a bunch of cars there. It's the buyer, the realtor, their uncle who did heat and air 10 years ago that wants to follow you around, But, man, I pull up to this one, And I mean, dude, there's cars all the way down the street. I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the heck is going on? I'm like, boy, this is going to be an event. And I've got a lot of spectators today. So, I park like 14 cars down. I get on my ladder and, you get all your stuff and I, mosey up to the door. And I saw somebody walking to the car and they were all dressed up. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I got up there. Man, there was a reef on the door.
Oh, no.
And I'm starting to put it together at this point. And, I was up at the door and the lady came out and the people are crying and I'm like, this is probably a bad time. I think we should probably reschedule. So, same thing. I mean, I actually talked to somebody there and I went back and called the realtor. I was like, man, why didn't somebody tell me? They're having a wake. I know they call it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we rescheduled, but wow.
Well, I'll tell you what. At least my lady paid the $95 cancellation fee. They actually paid it.
Yeah, I didn't ask for it.
I wouldn't have asked for it on your end.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Brian, do you have like an internet resource or a training or marketing resource that you would be willing to share with everyone?
I'm on Facebook. I guess is probably the best social media, and I know you're on there as well. So that's not nothing new to either one of us. But it's definitely a relationship building tool, and it's helped me tremendously.
Sure. Do you have any tips like on Facebook, or kind of what I'm really getting at is what not to do? Because I see some inspectors, unfortunately, I love all my brethren, but I see them doing some things. You have one or two things definitely not to do on Facebook.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think is don't put pancakes on there. That's the worst thing. No, I'm just teasing. That's really what you need to do is what not to do. I stay positive. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what goes on in this industry. Everything needs to be positive because positive people are around positive people.
That's right.
And nobody wants to hear you ask for business on Facebook. It isn't a tool to get business. It's a tool to build relationships.
It's like a big cocktail party. How would you act at a cocktail party? Would you go into a bar? Give me your business.
Give me your bit. Yeah. So you got to be subtle and I use it truly to get people to understand who I am so they feel comfortable doing business with me.
I mean, this is probably a terrible example, and my wife's going to listen to this, and your wife's going to listen to this, and they're probably going to hate me for it. But it's what you're saying is it's like walking into a bar, and, the first girl you see, hey, you want to go home with me? I mean, that would not work. That would not work. You're probably going to get slapped and arrested. But, social media is like that. If you just ask for business, it's about the same thing. You got to build a rapport and like you said, be positive. And, please, anybody listening to this, do not put politics on there. If you want to put politics, make a separate Facebook, but do not put your realtors on there because you got to realize at least half of those realtors are on the other team of the team that you're on. And why would you want to cut half of your business in half?
I say that all the time to people. It's truly what you're doing. You're excluding. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican it doesn't matter.
Keep it off Facebook.
If you're running a business, you cannot take a stand on that because you will cut off half of your supply.
Absolutely,
it is what it is. So,
and I'm not saying not have opinions, but keep those opinions to yourself, maybe your family and your close-knit circle, but do not put it out there for the general public.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're winding down here. I'm sorry, man. I'm a talker.
Oh, you're all right.
What's the best part of your job and why, and what's the worst part of your job and why, Brian?
I get to deal with the best part. I get to deal with so many different peoples. The worst part of it is I get to deal with so many different peoples.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's definitely kind of the win and it's the drawback too. I'm a people person. I like to know where people are coming from. I like to build rapport and relationships, but there's definitely some people that, there's just, it's so much easier to be positive than it is to be negative.
Well, and there's just no sense not being positive because, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Nothing else works, really.
And truly, that's the worst part of my business is just negative people that do not do their job that affects your job.
Right.
And that's truly what it is. And if everybody would do their job and run their businesses the way that they should be running their businesses, everybody in this real estate transaction would have a much better quality of life. Everybody would, you're waiting for the lender, you're waiting for the appraiser, somebody drops the ball and somebody else has to pick it up, and that's truly what this business is about, is picking up the ball.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, is there anything you're working on right now that has you jacked up or you're excited about?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely I definitely got something in the bag that I'm pretty excited about.
Tell me.
Well, I'm gonna
that
save that until I roll it out, but you'll see it. You'll see it here shortly. If you haven't, you may have seen it already because I've been starting to promote it fairly heavy. But it's definitely a game changer.
I've seen some stuff Butch had about checking permits or something. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not on that board yet. I just that's something to me that's still, it's definitely not for everybody. I'd like to focus on things that I can do for everybody. Some people, they don't care if it has a permit, and some people do, and and if it didn't have a permit in a real estate transaction, what is that really going to do?
Yeah.
How do you fix that? I don't really like to bring problems with no solutions into a real estate transaction. This is not good business.
No, that's good.
But no, we've negotiated, and this is Housemaster has done this at a national level, is we've negotiated some significant discounts. We call it the Housemaster Buyer Benefits Program.
Mm-hmm.
So there's national companies, moving trucks, Penske moving, supplies, packing supplies. We've negotiated Lowe's 10% off coupons.
Cool.
Which, by the way, is going away for the realtors, and they're coming for us. So that's kind of our niche. Getting back into that. Our goal is to bring value to our inspections.
Absolutely.
Sears, I think, is on board with their builder discounts for appliances. And it's all based off our inspection. So once I upload the report, they get signed up for these, and they can pick and choose the discounts that they want and what they need to use.
Oh, no, that's good stuff. And this is a good point I wanted to bring up, and I know we're over time, and I apologize for keeping you so long, Brian. As far as like Brian and our competitors, and the way we try to compete against each other is not by lowering our prices, but Brian has USPs, unique selling points, and I have unique selling points. And if he can bring these discounts, that makes his inspection more valuable. If I can do the drone, hopefully the FAA is talking about approving that now. That's something that and for the listeners out there, I always say, figure out something you can do that the other guy doesn't do. And that gives you, you don't want to compete on price because that's a race to the bottom. You don't want to be the Walmart. Figure out stuff you can do. And I say, get one of those professional equipment magazines or go to, one of the trade shows and find some equipment. I mean, there's all kinds of equipment. You could do the sewer scope or the, anything. But, that gives you something that you
Here's what I can say on price. And, there's definitely inspectors that think that that's the way to, growing their business or what have you. The only way that you can have a successful company, using that Walmart philosophy, which is lowering their prices on everything until all your competition, so you have all the work, is if your volume is at a point where you can make money.
Right.
So if it costs, let's just throw a figure, if it costs an inspector $100 or $150 or $200 to do an inspection, and that's your cost as an inspector, which people don't even understand that because they think that, we charge $400. Well, you put $400 in your pocket, because I've had clients start figuring the math and said, "Oh, you made $800, $900 today on 2 inspections. How many do you do a week?" So they're trying to figure math, and they're like, really, my cost of doing this inspection is close to $200, and I'm charging you $400.
Well, not to mention the liability you just took on.
Absolutely. And then if anything comes up, now I only have $200 of this inspection fee to take care of your issue. I said, so, you've got to have volume, to make this inspection. That's why so many inspectors go out of business, is because they'll do $200 inspections and a claim comes in. And, if you did 10 inspections at $200 is $2,000 and you got a $2,500 claim, who's going to pay it? The guy that made $4,000 or the guy that made $2,000?
Exactly. So, no, I'm dead with you. I'm with you.
So yeah, bring in your niche. You really got to find what you do and what your competitors don't do.
Yeah, well, and like us, there's things you do that I don't do, and things I do you don't do, and that's
sure.
That's how we compete against each other.
That's it.
I do this, and you can say I do this, and that's. I mean, it's good for the best thing. It's good for the client, and you're bringing more valuable, and it's good for the industry.
I'll add this into that too. I'll never throw another inspector under the bus. I'll never say, and I've been asked. There's people, what do you think about Preston? Or this is really where it comes up. Who do you use for your inspections? Preston. And my response has always been, he's a good guy. He's a top-notch service, whatever. All I ask for is if the opportunity where he can't do it or can't get to it, just give me a chance. Give me an opportunity.
That's what I say. I almost say the same thing.
So, truly, you'll get guys that'll tell them, "Oh, you shouldn't be using him. He's this or that." There's too much business in this world to do that, and it'll come back and bite you.
I always say kind of the same thing. I said, well, let me be second string.
That's it.
If Brian's out of town or something like that, or can't get to it,
And that's what it's about too, because Preston, we can't do them all. I mean, if you do so many and you can't get to them all, and I get your overflow, once I get to a point where I can't do it, let the $200 guy get our overflow.
Oh yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I just wouldn't throw anybody under the bus anyway, because I just wouldn't do it. But besides that, I know you're going to inspect the house I inspected, and I'm going to inspect. I mean, it's just, we were talking earlier. I got called out to go look at this house, and they were getting, they would vacuum, and a day later they'd have dust, and so it was a realtor's house, and I crawled under there, and sure enough, what was happening? They had a support thing for the plenum. And it was overspanned, so the thing had come down, and the metal strap had actually cut into it, and the thing, so it was had 2 big dashes on the corners, so it was and the dryer vent was disconnected on top of that, so it was pulling in that dryer vent every time the HVAC system came on, and I took pictures of it and I showed them. I said, "This is your problem," and they were like, "Oh, that's great, thank you," and all that. And they pulled out the inspection report. And it wasn't yours, it wasn't mine. I couldn't quite make it out, but I know your logo, I know my logo. But perfect opportunity that but no way am I going to throw. They said, "Should the inspector call?" That was their exact question to him. I said, "Well, when did you have your inspection?" They said 2 years ago. And I said, "Well, I mean," I said, that could have happened in the past 2 years. Easily could have happened in the past 2 years. And then they even came back and they said, "Well, you said that thing was overspanned." And I said, "Well, yeah, it was, but that, if that's not something home inspectors measure. I mean, if it wasn't gashed at the time, and it looked okay at that time, there was no way." So, I left it like, hey, call HVAC guy, show them this. It shouldn't be that expensive. There's no way. But there are home inspectors in this business that would have been like, call so-and-so. And anybody out there who's listening, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's definitely be the bigger person, and that's the way we run our business, and it's definitely blessed me. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brian, we're almost coming down to the end. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have?
I don't think so. We've covered pretty much a good, good
real
portion
estate.
of everything.
Yeah. All right. Is there a question you'd like to ask me?
When are you going to sell?
I hear you.
I'm messing with you. It's definitely fun competition. It's I enjoy being competitive, so it's definitely good.
Yeah, I've had stressful times in my business when I've called Brian, Butch, and Arvil, who are all competitors and we're friends. I think I've asked each one of them, "You want to buy my business?" when it's stressful, but it's all good. Well, Brian, you've been more than gracious, and thank you for sharing, and I know the listeners will enjoy it. Is there any way if somebody wanted to find out more about you or get in touch with you that they could get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Cell phone number is the best way, 704-297-1109. Office number is 803-831-0057. Housemaster.com is the website. And Facebook is Brian T. Wetzel. Definitely, I'm a Facebook fool, so.
I hear you, Brian. I hear you. Well, Brian, thanks a lot. And, I'll say I'll catch you on the flip side, but I'll probably see you tomorrow.
There you go. Have a good one, Preston.
All right.
You have been listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast, where we share funny stories, and we talk about how to increase your business, and we share some success stories and some not so success stories that we can learn from. We're also here to share resources. You can find out more about today's show in show notes at the successfulhomeinspector.com. Thanks for listening.